My name is Ravi, and welcome to the It's Not That Serious podcast, a space for mindset work, spiritual growth, and the lessons I'm learning through healing, travel, and self-discovery. This is my open journal, and if you're looking for inspiration, come along and let's grow together. Hello! Okay, hi guys. Welcome back to the It's Not That Serious podcast. I spent 3 months in Colombia, so we are going to talk about what I was doing there, why Colombia, my opinions on certain places, what the good things were, what the bad things were, my experience. And if you follow me on social media, you will see that I've been posting a lot about what I did in Colombia. Like I said, I was in Colombia for 3 months. That's a lot of time. I love creating content around all the things that I do. Okay, maybe not all the things, but I love creating content about a lot of the things I do. And spending 3 months in Colombia creates a lot of content. I also traveled pretty much all the major cities of Colombia, plus some small cities or small towns. I pretty much recorded content and videos, took pictures, every place and every hostel I went to. So on my social platforms, I've created a bunch of what my experiences were like, a lot of hee ha ha, joke, relatable, funny content. However, that is different than a sit-down podcast. Here I get to sit down, talk, elaborate. Where on social media, it's more short form. What was I doing in Colombia and why Colombia? I have a membership with this volunteer exchange platform called Worldpackers. Pretty much what Worldpackers is a platform where you do volunteer exchange. So in exchange for you volunteering at a hostel for X amount of hours, doing a set job or position or whatever with your skills or your preference, the hostel gives you free accommodation and a certain amount of meals per day. Specifically for me, I was looking for places I can stay that would provide me all 3 meals and accommodation. So I pretty much would have little to no expenses while I was in Colombia. And for me, as I said, I'm a content creator. I'm also a yoga instructor. So I was looking specifically on Worldpackers where I could teach yoga and create content. I also wanted to do it in Latin America because I wanted to practice my Spanish. My Spanish was very, very basic. I took 3 years in high school. If you watched my Mexico recap podcast episode, then I think I talked about a little bit of how I took Spanish for 3 years in high school, but high school I graduated 2018, now it's 2025. And I never needed to speak Spanish to survive, And so in this case in Colombia, I kind of had to speak Spanish to get around, and especially in smaller towns where English was not spoken. So I specifically wanted to go to a country that was Spanish speaking. So when I looked on Worldpackers and I looked up yoga instructor or content creator, Colombia popped up. And I know some people are like, oh, Colombia is not safe. It's dangerous, violence, drugs, all that stuff, which is true. They did have it, and it was very recently. However, in the last 2 decades, things have gotten a lot better, and I also created content around that. So if you want to go follow me, all my social media links are in the description. But yeah, so I looked on Worldpackers for that. Also with Worldpackers, if you do want to get a membership, I do have a promo code for that as well. So you get a discounted rate if you start your membership. And this is how I do a lot of my traveling. I literally was in Colombia for 3 months, and I only spent $1,900 in 3 months. Damn well when you travel, $1,900 is how much you spend in 2 weeks. So if you're penny pinching and wanting to travel long term, you don't even have to travel long term. If you want to penny pinch and travel short term, there's opportunities for that on Worldpackers as well. So I have a promo code. It will also be in the description or bio or whatever the heck it's called, but it's going to be all there. All the information is going to be there. But anyway, so we're going to talk about my journey, my experience, the good, the bad, my opinions on certain things, what it was like for me, the things I did, who I was with, and the times I was by myself. So the first half of the 3 months, I was solo traveling, and then the second half, I was joined by friends. We will talk about this experience. All right, let's start from the very, very beginning, which is my 26-hour trip to Colombia. And keep in mind, I live in Southern California, so it doesn't need to take 26 hours. However, if we're penny pinching out here, I went from LAX, which is 2 hours from my house. I went to LAX, stayed there for an hour or two. I think it was an hour and a half or something, I don't know. And then I flew 3 hours to Houston, Texas, then 5.5 hours to Bogotá, which is in Colombia. However, that was not where my first destination was. So then I flew to Santa Marta, which was another hour. Then I got on a bus, which was only like 50 cents from the airport to the hostel. So since it was 50 cents in the conversion to US dollars, it was a 2-hour ride, even though if you were driving, it was like 30 minutes. But there's just so many stops. And this is where my Spanish kicked into gear because like I said, I took Spanish so long ago, I never really needed to practice it. But I was like, okay, I need to order my Starbucks in Spanish. I have to find how to get on the bus and how to get to the hostel from here. And so I was speaking Spanish and I was like, damn, like I'm kind of good at this. Like, damn, I like impressed myself. Overall, like I was meeting so many people that didn't speak English that were also traveling. They were just from different countries in South America. And then other people who were Colombia locals or like locals to whatever town I was in or whatever city I was in. And a lot of them didn't speak English. So I really was impressed with my own Spanish skills because I was able to have like 1 to 2, maybe even 3-hour long conversations, or I was the translator for some travelers who didn't speak Spanish at all. This is not to like brag about my Spanish skills, but I was genuinely surprised with how much Spanish I was learning out there. Then I come back home and I'm like, I need to keep practicing it. So don't you worry, I'm going to be going to more places in Latin America to keep practicing, to keep traveling, to keep learning, growing, all that. But anyway, so I get to the first hostel finally. I get there, I check in, I'm starving. So they're like, okay, like you get your free meal. You start your first class tomorrow. We're still getting your bed ready. So eat first and then we'll get your stuff ready. And then, so I ate and my bed was still not ready. So that's when I just like went to go check out the hostel. It was super cool. It was in the middle of the jungle. There was nature everywhere. It was all nature. Like we were in the mountains, in the jungle. It was just so far from everything and so expensive to leave that area too because it was like 30 minutes from the main road because it was so deep in the jungle. So I met people. We went on a sunset hike, but then I come back and then that's when they tell me my bed is ready. And I'm like, cool. Like I can unpack. I can not unpack, but like I can like start taking some of my clothes out and start doing some stuff. So my bag's not just sitting in the receptionist area. They take me to my place. They walk me off the hostel area by the river and show me a tent by the river. And I was like, oh, I'm sleeping in a tent by the river, not in the hostel, not in a dormitory. What is this? But I was just like, okay, I will make do with the situation. It's fine. This was my fault because the reviews did say that if there's no space in the dorms, that they will have the volunteers sleep in the tents. But I didn't think that'd be the case because in the volunteer description, it did say dorm or tent. And most people said like, oh yeah, the dorm beds are so comfy, blah, blah, blah. But then the people who were like, oh yeah, the tents, they're pretty comfy. And then I saw the pictures and I was thinking the tents were like cabanas. And then, nope, it was an actual camping tent, but there was a mattress. I go into my tent and I see bugs, I see mosquitoes, and I was just like, all right, whatever, like it's fine. I will get used to this. I'm just adjusting right now. So I go shower and then there's a power outage. Something happened in the main town to the electricity. There was a shortage, explosion, whatever, something happened. And then it messed with the electricity at the hostel. So the power went out for a little bit. When it came back on, the lights came back on and I went back to my tent. The light from the hostel was casting shadows onto my tent. So the tree branches literally looked like hands just like moving around on my tent. It was so scary because I'm like at least like 25 feet away from the hostel to where like people can like actually hear me. But then when it comes to like the dorms and where there's actual people sleeping, they're like, hey, this is me editing this episode. My measurements were really, really off. I was trying to describe how far the dorms were away from my tent and the other volunteer tents from me, and the dorms were at least a few hundred feet away. Obviously, I'm really bad with measurements. And then the other volunteers were at least 30 feet from me. For me, and the river was just so loud when there was animals walking. You couldn't tell if it was a human or an animal just walking around. And also this tent, that's where we put all our stuff. We couldn't really lock up the tent. So my stuff was just out there vulnerably. The second day I went to a waterfall hike. It was 5 hours, 5 different waterfalls. We were able to swim in it. But because I went swimming in the waterfalls, my bug repellent came off. And mind you, I'm in the middle of the jungle. There's moving, running water and still water everywhere, which means mosquitoes. And of course, your girl got her vaccinations for these diseases out here because I'm not trying to die out in Colombia. If you don't know me or know my blood type, I don't even know my blood type, but if you don't know me, I will let you know that my blood, my sense, my CO2, whatever is exerted from my body, that sounds so weird, but whatever it is, attracts mosquitoes so much. I'm not even exaggerating. When I'm with my friends, if we're going on a hike, you best believe I will be getting bit by mosquitoes if I'm not wearing repellent. If there are no mosquitoes around, there will be mosquitoes around because I'm there. I literally get bit by mosquitoes in places you wouldn't think mosquitoes would even be sometimes. It's not just that I attract them, I'm also allergic to them. Not so much like I'm gonna die, I'm that allergic, but it's like they just swell up and get really, really itchy. 2019, I got bit by a mosquito. I scratched it so badly. It looked like there was a whole tumor on my thigh. Like if this was my thigh, it was like this big on me. It literally was like the size of a spread out, like if you cut a tennis ball in half and then put that half against my leg, that's the size of the bug bite on my thigh. You literally could see it through my pants. I was wearing jeans. Yeah, I went on this hike and I got bit up by mosquitoes. Not just like arms and my chest and back. It was like all over my legs. I'm going to insert some pictures so you can see it was really bad. This happens on the second day of me being there. I get back to the hostel after going on this waterfall hike. I take a shower, all that stuff. I put on leggings and a long sleeve to bed because I'm like, okay, like I need to protect my skin. This is so many bug bites. I'm going to scratch it, blah, blah, blah. But I get in my tent and again, I'm seeing spiders. I'm seeing like little bed bugs or whatever. And I'm already itchy from the mosquitoes. So I'm like waking up, just scratching myself in the middle of the night. And it's not just like, oh, like a little bit of scratching here and there. It's like I wake up and I cannot stop scratching myself for like at least an hour. And then I wake up and like my mosquito bites are all swollen and like aching and sore and bruising. It literally just looks like I get like beaten up when I get bit by bugs. And so it wasn't even just from the 5-hour waterfall hike. Like this was happening inside my tent because the next night I was just waking up with more scratches, more bug bites on me, even with the long sleeve and leggings. I swear to God, they were crawling into my shirt and biting me. It was so uncomfortable. But thankfully, after like the 4th day of this happening, I was like, I can't do this. I'm supposed to be here for a month. I went to the receptionist and I was like, I can't do it here. Like I am the yoga teacher who has to wake up earlier than everyone. I was teaching yoga at 6 a.m. So I needed to wake up at 5 a.m. to get my own like practice in so I can fill my own cup before I teach to other people and fill their cups. Like you can't pour from an empty cup. So I always had to do my own practice, make sure I had a class plan, all that stuff. And if I was not getting any sleep because I was just so itchy and uncomfortable and waking up in the middle of the night, just scratching myself, I literally will not be showing up for the guests. I can't do it. I'm mentally not there. I'm physically exhausted. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're not mentally like, okay, you know? So, or at least me, I cannot do well on very little sleep. Thankfully, they moved me to the guest dorm. It was really good. I really liked it. I was meeting so many people, and in hostels, people come and go. They stay for like 3 to 4 days max, and then they leave. So I was just meeting people here and there, and some of them I ended up meeting later on in my other travels in Colombia, which was really cool. Fast forward to my last 3 days there. They accidentally messed up on how long I was going to stay in that bed. I was really lucky that I said something and I asked to be moved out of the tent because other volunteers came after me and they were put in the tents together. So there were 2 volunteers sharing a tent and then the other 2 volunteers were in their own tents. And like the other 2 were fine with it, but then the 2 sharing a tent, they were like, I don't think we can do this. So they were put in a dorm, or not even a dorm, they were put in like a cabana that was still under construction, and it was supposed to be like a treehouse cabana, but the stairs were not there yet. So it was literally a construction ladder just propped up. You have to climb up the construction ladder, get into the treehouse. It's literally still under construction. So you're like walking, everything's creaking, and the bunk beds that were in there, one of them wasn't even fully built. You go on it, it's not even bolted in all the way. So you literally can pick it up. I walked up to it and I picked it up. I messed up my reservation for my last 3 or 4 days there, and someone else, a guest, ended up booking my bed. And that's when the receptionist and the workers there told me that I can no longer stay here because someone else booked my bed. They messed up my reservation for the bed. So I had to either move to a tent or go to that cabana with other volunteers. And so I was like, okay, like the other volunteers have been doing this for like a few days now, a few weeks, and they've been complaining the whole time too. So I was like, sick. I'm going to have to go in there with them. And so I went up, I climbed up. I was so scared. I literally was like sweating, shaking, trembling, climbing up that construction ladder with my 2 backpacks on me. And then I go over there and like I said, everything was creaking. The bunk bed was not bolted in. I literally walked up, I picked it up. I climbed up to the top bunk and the whole thing was just shaking. And keep in mind, like almost every day I'm here, I'm getting bit up by bugs. I'm wearing repellent as much as I can, but the second I sweat, the second I get into the pool, it's just like, and it's not even the mosquitoes too. There's also sandflies, which I didn't even know existed. But sandflies, they bite you and you don't even feel them. It's like, they're kind of like mosquitoes, but like more ninja than mosquitoes. They're literally quiet. You can't feel them until you're itchy and they're already gone. They freaking hit it and quit it and just dip and they take everything with you. It's, oh my God, with them, it's crazy. Every night I was still itchy. I would literally just like scratch my leg or even just scratch my arm and the whole entire bunk bed was just shaking. I was like, what the heck is this, bro? And also because, again, we're in the jungle, when it rained, all the water, the sink water, the shower water, the toilet water turned brown because I guess the water and the dirt mixing, that's all going down the drains that we're using. They said it was clean, but it was just like, why is the water brown? I thought in the toilet it was pee, but when I was brushing my teeth with brown water, I'm like, has it always been like this? And then I realized it was raining. But yeah, so that was that experience. That was like the negative part of that experience at that hostel. And I was there for all of February. Like I got there February 3rd and then I left the 28th to go to the next hostel I was volunteering at. But while I was at that first hostel, it was super cool getting to learn more Spanish. But this is where I was having the 2-hour conversations with people that didn't speak English, which was so cool. I was learning more and more. And then I had my notes app where I was just putting Spanish phrases or Spanish words that I was learning. Now let's talk about my journey to the second hostel. I literally was leaving this hostel for the first time. Like I was just like in this hostel. I only left to go to the waterfalls. I only left to go to the rivers, to do like little hikes around, but there's really nothing else to do around there. So I was just there for the whole month of February. When I finally left, I was like, okay, now I'm really on my own because I'm still solo at this point. So I really had to practice my Spanish some more, but it was scary because I was literally out in the streets with my backpack. I'm just this Asian girl traveling in a Latin country. You know, I stand out. You don't see a lot of Asian Americans traveling. So as women, especially. So it was a little scary. I was able to get on the bus. I was after waiting for so long, I was waiting for like 30 minutes because I kept leaving to be like, are you guys sure? I was trying to find a pharmacy because I needed antihistamine. Oh, I forgot to mention, like after a few days of me getting bit up by mosquitoes, I met a French Canadian. She was so sweet. She was a mother traveling, single mother traveling, and she brought a whole bunch of antihistamine. She gave me 2 weeks worth of antihistamine. So I was starting to run out and I needed to get more before I went to the second hostel because the second hostel I was going to was also in the jungle. And so I needed antihistamine. I was looking for it. Everyone kept leading me to the wrong one, like the wrong place. And I was just getting stares and people trying to like make me get on a motorbike. I couldn't find a pharmacy. Everyone is saying the pharmacy is this way, the pharmacy is that way, go that way, go that way. And this is all in Spanish, so I'm trying to understand my best, but it was just really hard for me because they'd be like, oh, it's that way. And then I'd go and there was no pharmacy. They'd point me to the other way where I originally was, and that was the one that was closed. It was such a mess. So I just went back to the bus station, waited. No buses were coming. I went back inside. I was like, are you sure a bus is supposed to come? And then I finally got on a bus. And then the bus broke down. So I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. Also, when I got on that bus, like I was getting on so fast and they let me on. And the second I took a step on that bus, they already started to go and I jammed my thumb into the railing. I swear to God, like my thumb continued hurting for another month after that. It was so sore for the first week or two. Like I couldn't crack my thumb. I couldn't move my thumb. I probably like sort of broke it a little bit. But it was fine after that. It was just like really sore if I moved it in certain ways. So that continued for like a month. Anyway, so I get to this next hostel. It's pretty cool. It's also in the middle of the jungle. It was like about an hour away from the first hostel or maybe like 2 hours. But I would say like this hostel was more jungly. It was literally like outdoorsy, very naturey. You heard howler monkeys. The jungle dorms were literally like open walled. So like there were walls, but like there were like bamboo walls that you kind of just put up to like change behind, you know? And the showers did not have all 4 walls. It was like 3 walls and then just jungle. So you would shower and it'd come out of like a bamboo shoot. It was so cool. So I was teaching yoga here. There were a lot of sandflies here. It was like, I felt like every time I moved locations, I was getting bit by a different species of like mosquitoes or sandflies, because once I started getting more immune to that first place I was at, then I show up to the second hostel and I get bit like times 5. And then it calms down for a little bit and then I leave and then I get bit again. I don't know. It's crazy. This one, I also got really lucky. I don't know why they didn't put me in the volunteer dorm, but they put me in the guest dorm, which was the jungle dorm. That had 17 beds in it. So there were 17 people at a time sleeping in that room, except it wasn't like always full. Like there were always empty beds, but 17 beds is a lot. I heard about all the volunteers having issues though. So both hostels I was volunteering at, they were not feeding us like the best foods. So the foods they were feeding the guests were really delicious, a little more pricey, of course, but like way more delicious, more visually appealing, very aesthetic looking, but they were giving us like straight up prison food. I'm not exaggerating and I'm not trying to be like ungrateful or whatever, but it was like at the first place, they literally just gave us pumpkin soup, nothing else, no protein, no carbs, no fibers, I guess. It was literally just soup. And we had to ask for them to give us more. So then they gave us a sandwich with literally one slice of ham and a little bit of cheese on it. Like that was it. And then the second hostel I went to, it was just like small portion sizes. The food kind of looked sick. The only reason why I'm bringing this up too is just because like all the volunteers were also complaining about it and we could see right in front of us what the guests were being served and they were paying for it. But it was just like, you know, we're volunteering here. We're putting in the work. I get that we get free food. I think they just want us to pay for the really good food. But I'm also like, they have good food. Like they could give us small portion sizes of those. I don't know. But that was the food experience when it came to volunteering. And I'm definitely not the only one that thinks the food was like mediocre. So at the second hostel I was at, it was near Tayrona Park. It was probably like a 15-30 minute bus ride from Tayrona. That was really beautiful. Lots of monkeys there, beautiful beaches, lots of hiking, very hot, very humid. This whole time I'm in northern Colombia, it's very hot and very humid. But the volunteers, they were having a lot of trouble in their dorm because a lot of the dogs kept going into their dorm and then sometimes into their bed, like sniffing their stuff. It was kind of a mess. So they were telling them, the workers were telling the volunteers to try not to let the dogs in, but they weren't always in the dorm. So the dogs would go in even if they weren't in the dorms. Because remember, the rooms are not like actual rooms. There's still openings to them to enjoy the nature. So the dogs would go in. But some of the volunteers kept getting bit in their sleep. So they're like, hey, there's bed bugs. So the workers went in to go clean and inspect the beds. And it turns out one of the volunteer beds had an anthill in the mattress, like a whole anthill. They were like, and they weren't even like tiny little ants, the regular ants that you'll see like during the summer. No, Colombia has like big ants, like really big ants. Yeah, that was just crawling out of the mattress. And they, instead of exterminating and spraying the inside of the room, they sprayed the outside of the room, which makes no sense because then the ants would go inside the room. I don't know. The logic just doesn't make sense to me. So at this hostel, I was teaching 2 times a day, 5 times a week. So I was teaching 10 classes in total per week. And of course, like I'm going to have like some spiritual people come to my classes. And some people were coming telling me about like, oh yeah, we went to a place nearby, like 30 minutes. They sell like plant medicines over there. It's super spiritual. The lady's super nice. There's mushrooms over there if you want to try. I've never taken mushrooms in my life before, but I knew I wanted to. I just never knew how, when, with who, where, all that stuff. I just knew that I wanted to take mushrooms for the spiritual experience of it, to have that spiritual enlightenment, to be more in tune with myself. And I would always joke around like, oh, I want to see God. But like, I genuinely wanted to like feel in tune with my higher self, kind of feel the presence of the universe and the acceptance of myself and all that stuff. So I had intentions with it. When this first girl came to my class and told me about it, I was just like, oh, like whatever, like maybe we'll see. And in a few weeks, that's when I was going to be meeting up with a friend of mine. I'll just be using names. So the first friend that was coming with me is Mendwa. And then we meet up with another friend, Emily. So, Mendwa, he's also spiritual like me. We both were wanting to take mushrooms. We just didn't know when, how, where, you know, like all that stuff. But I was like, hey, maybe like this could be a sign. This could be like an experience to do it because we are in the middle of the jungle. There's rivers, there's waterfalls nearby. There's literally a place like a 30-minute walk away to go experience this. But I just wasn't sure. And then I started meeting more really spiritual, very philosophical, very psychological people who were telling me about their experience and their enlightenment with it and what they were feeling and their view on it. And more of like, it's not so much a hard party drug or whatever. It's more of like a plant medicine and it helps heal you depending on how you use it and your intention with it. And I was like, having more of these talks with people this opened my eyes to, I understand it more now and I understand why I would want to take it. I call Mendwa and I'm like, would you be down to take it? And I tell him about all the conversations I've been having with people. Of course, he's down. He's still not in Colombia yet. I'm still here by myself, but I go with a bunch of people I met from the hostel. We go to this place. I tell her about my experience with anxiety and what I want with the mushroom and why I'm taking it, what I want out of it. My intentions with it were more so to be more accepting and less judgmental of like myself, of others, and to just kind of be more with myself, to feel more accepted by myself, be more accepted by nature, and to just feel connected, like everything's connected, you know? She gave us the golden teacher. I go back to the hostel, fast forward to later, Mendwa gets here. I've already been at this hostel for like almost 3 weeks now, so we go to a river that I've already walked by so many times. We also go and get fruits like mangoes and star fruit, and these fruits that people from the fruit stand gave us. They were so sweet. We took it and it was a very enlightening spiritual experience for me because I felt very connected with nature. I was in the river. I felt that the water was not only flowing through me, but like in me. Wait, that sounds so weird, but like I just felt like I was one with the river. Like it was just flowing through me, and I looked down and it was just like crazy to me to see the stillness within me, but then movement within the water, and it was still one thing. And then Mendwa got in the river and we both were just like sitting there, just watching the water like flow through us. And I literally just wanted to lay there and have the river take me. You're still conscious enough, like I'm conscious enough to not do that. I really wanted to though. The greenery of the leaves were just so bright, so beautiful, like so green, like blindingly green. If you're editing a picture or video and you turn the saturation like all the way up, and then the vibrance all the way up, and then the warmth like all the way down, it was just so blindingly green. And then when the sun started to set, if you turn the warmth like all the way up and make it yellow, like blindingly yellow, it was like that. And then the wind, I felt the wind through every fiber and muscle and every nerve in my body. I just felt the wind like flow through me, and I just felt that I was really connected, truly one with nature. And then of course there was like a house behind us. There was this girl that started singing and she was super angelic. She was playing a ukulele and we both were laughing like there's no way this is happening right now. And then we walked all the way back to the hostel barefoot, and the ground was just massaging our feet. It felt so soft. I literally just wanted to lay on the ground and just like have it hold me. I just felt like Superwoman. Like we were literally just walking, going up and down the hill side to side. It was a 10-minute walk, but I just felt like I was gliding, like I was just floating. And then to get to the hostel, there's like one really steep incline. We ran up that. I was not winded. I was not tired at all. I was just like, why was this so easy? That was so weird. I loved it. I loved the experience. It was very eye-opening and very peaceful. I learned that it's very possible to be present, like 100% present, 100% accepting, 100% non-judgmental, and just like everything is as it is and everything is okay as it is. And so it was just like, damn. We also went to Palomino. That place was really cool. We were expecting people to be more like hippie and drugs and party, because that's what everyone was telling us. But we got there and we didn't really experience that. But we did experience cute stores. We did a lot of shopping over there. And then we went to the beach. I fell asleep on the beach, got sunburnt. I rarely burn. Mendwa's black. He doesn't burn either. I'm Asian. I don't burn. Like I'm Filipino. I'm meant for the sun. I'm meant for the UV rays all over me. We both burned. Him and I both burned, but I was like burnt. Like I think I got like some sun poisoning or something, because I was like red and sweating. We had the fan on pointing at me and I was just like, I could not stop sweating. I was so hot. And then, so we leave that hostel. We go to Cartagena, and this is where I'm no longer volunteering at places through World Packers. I'm just specifically reaching out to certain hotels and hostels that I'm finding through my own search and like messaging them on WhatsApp saying like, I'm a content creator. I can help you out with your page. Or I also teach yoga. So if you want to offer that to your guests, like I'd love to do like an exchange. We stay at this other place in Cartagena, but on our way over to Cartagena, we get scammed. And it wasn't like a lot of money. Like I lost like $26, thankfully, but that was also all the cash I had on me, like Colombian pesos, because I had 100,000 Colombian pesos on me. So we're on this bus, we're leaving the hostel, right, to head over to Santa Marta, which is like the main area. And then, because we were in the middle of the jungle, so we need to go into the main area to get over to Cartagena. So we go from terminal to terminal, but we're on this bus to get to Santa Marta to get onto like a bigger bus. However, we are We don't have a specific direction of where we're going. We just figured we had to go to the public market. There's this stop where a flock of men are just like, Cartagena, Cartagena, if you're going to Cartagena, get off here, Cartagena, Cartagena. So him and I were like, Mendo and I were like, okay, do we get off here? Like, everyone else on the bus is getting off. So we're thinking, okay, like they're all saying Cartagena, let's get off the bus. So then I asked the ticket collector on our bus, or like the cash collector on our bus, do we get off here to go to Cartagena? And he said yes. So I was just like, okay. We get our backpacks, and then we're standing there at the bench because it looks like a bus stop. So then we're asking all the people, like, is this where we stay? Is this where we wait to get on a bus to go to Cartagena? They're like, oh, there's no bus here. You have to take a taxi. If you travel to another country and know how the taxis work, you know that they scam you and jack them prices up just to get your money. I understand that's how it works, but it's also very pushy and very sketchy with how they do it. Like, they all told us to get off. It was very rushed, very pressured. And so we're off now, and they're all like, yeah, like, there's no bus here. You have to take a taxi. It's so far away. It's going to be 30 minutes from taxi. If you walk, it's going to take hours. And we have our backpacks with us. So we're like, okay, like, are we supposed to get on a taxi with them? Like, what's happening? And they were like, yeah, there's no bus. It's so far away. But then we see everyone else walking to like another part. And all of them were trying to like take our bags too. And they're just like, no, like, come with us, like, taxi, go over here. And they're all different taxi like contractors. They all have like different taxis. They're all different people. And there's this guy who comes up to Mendo and tries to take his bag and is just like, the bus is here, the bus is here. And Mendo and I are like, they just told us there was no bus. Like, there's not supposed to be a bus here. What's going on? So then the guy's like holding Mendo's bag, but Mendo's not letting go of his bag. And then we're running over to this bus. He's like, okay, like, load the bags on the bus. And then they tell us it's 90,000 pesos. Keep in mind, I only pulled out 100,000. And so I give him 100,000 thinking that he gave my cash to Mendo because he was giving Mendo's cash back for his change. So I wasn't really paying attention. And then we get on the bus. I realized like I never got my change back and Mendo didn't have my change. And then this bus ride, it was just so bad because like we were starving. We had our sandwiches, but our sandwiches were leaking. So we were eating our sandwiches, but we had no napkins. But there's a bathroom on the bus. So we're like, okay, cool. Like, we can go wash our hands. We go over. The sink doesn't work. There's no paper towels. The toilet doesn't even have water. The bathroom's barely functioning. I'm just like, okay, so we're just going to have sticky hands the rest of the bus ride. And the bus ride was 5 to 6 hours long. Yeah, we had to sit there with sticky hands. Like, we went to the bathroom and used his water bottle to pour some water on our hands, but it was still really gross. Fast forward to Cartagena. This experience was pretty cool. I personally don't like Cartagena. It was really beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong. The culture was beautiful. The history, learning about the history was crazy. There was so much that happened there. And I understand like a lot of its background, its history, the culture, all that stuff. It's really beautiful, very vibrant, very colorful, lots of partying, but I'm not about that party life. I'm not about the nightlife, and neither is Mendo. We were just exploring. Like, we were looking around for places to eat, seeing what was around there. We were able to get into some of the clubs for free, and that was pretty cool. The African culture here was also like really cool. So it was Afro-Caribbean. Yeah, Mendo was super excited about that. I really enjoyed getting to see the Afro-Caribbean culture. There was a lot of dancing, lots of music, lots of liveliness over there. It was just that like, it was also really touristy and the prices were very much jacked up. A lot of the food was really expensive and I was just not expecting that. So I guess like it helped that we were doing content trade over there, but we were just not expecting to be as expensive in that area. And then I find another place. Okay, this is the crazy part. This was a mess. So I find this other hotel that's on an island because Mendo and I really wanted to go to an island, you know, in the Caribbean Sea. The oceans are supposed to be really beautiful and blue. And so I find this one hotel that messages us the morning that we're checking out at the first hotel. They tell us that this hotel is on an island where it's supposed to be very like beautiful, crystal clear waters, blue waters. They're protecting the flora and fauna, so don't bring trash, don't bring your own food. It's very sacred, all that stuff. So we're like really excited to go, but then we get there. And like I said, like Mendo and I are not party people. We're not like drinkers or anything like that, but this hotel that we're going to is very much like that. But we were like, you know, like we get to experience it. We're on an island, whatever. But we get there and we're put in a teepee. They told us that we were gonna market a teepee, but it was just like the teepee pictures that they sent us were really nice. And we get there and our teepee has stains, a barely functioning mosquito net. Like it was not working. We put the mosquito net like under the mattress, which the mattress was on the floor of the teepee, by the way. And it was just not staying tucked in because it was right next to a fan, and the fan moves and the fan would just like move the mosquito net. There were bugs all over the bed. There was a big spider. There were all these tiny little bugs. It was really gross. Our outlet had rust all over it. And when we plugged in our stuff, it like had like lightning, the electricity just like, and then the showers, the doors were not locking. There was puddles of water, black water, just sitting there for who knows how long. We were here for 3 nights. I wish it was shorter. Yeah, those bugs were biting us in our sleep. We were both waking up with more bug bites on us. I was just scratching like crazy. They needed a lot of general repairs too. There were floorboards by the pool that were very loose. People were literally tripping over them because they were loose. You would step on it and like the other edge, like a cartoon, would literally fly up and like people would trip. The worst part is they didn't have most of the food items they had on their menu, and they ran out of drinking water 2 out of the 3 days we were there. So like water is a necessity. Water is a human necessity. Like you need to have that to survive. And they didn't even have that. They had carbonated water and electrolytes. So we were just drinking that. So we talked to the owner. We wanted to leave, but she moved us up to a cabana, a really nice cabana that was like a 15-minute walk away from those teepees. And when she finally brought us there, the AC wasn't working. And the reason why it was really important to have this AC is because like where this area was, it was even hotter, even more humid. And when I say it was hot, it was 90 degrees with 70% humidity. So just think about like how hot 90 degrees is, but like increase the humidity and like you're like suffocating. And so I was like, oh, let's take a shower, you know, like let's cool down. But then our bathroom started to flood. Like after the shower, I don't know what happened, but the water started to like rise and flood our whole entire bathroom. Then we went to the jacuzzi, which was like half filled up, and there were bugs and leaves, and we were just hanging out in the back patio of it, and we were getting attacked by bumblebees. Like literal bumblebees were just swarming us and bothering us. And then we had to walk all the way back down, like 15 minutes down to go get food, and then 15 minutes all the way back up. It was so bad. And then they were like, oh yeah, like if you want to go to the beach, which is on the other side, like we'll get you a motorbike and all that stuff. But then they made it so we were only at the beach for a certain amount of time. And I was like, when we got to the beach, it was really nice. I'm like, why didn't we stay here this whole time? Like we didn't know about this. They were hiding this from us. It was just such a bad experience, and we could not wait to get out of there. I swear to God, those 3 days there felt like 3 years, maybe even 30. Like it was so bad. So yeah, we got out of there. We went to another hostel on Zion Beach, which is near Cartagena, but we were like, we need to experience like a really good beach. So we get there and like the beach is pretty chill, but the water looks a little brown. Again, we're expecting like a lot more from the Caribbean Oceans, but I guess like in this area, it wasn't as good because I've been in the Caribbean Ocean in Mexico and it was really blue, but I guess it's not like that here. But we get to that Zion Beach. There were literal signs that were saying after 6 p.m., don't go out, don't go to this town, like it's really dangerous. Stay inside, there's a curfew, and there's actual cops like going around. So when we got there at night and we were walking, we were like, this is so sketchy because even like the lights for the hostel were off, and we couldn't find how to get in. And then they saw us and let us in, but I was like, bro, like that's so sketchy. Zion Beach was really nice. We just chilled there. It was really relaxing. We were able to like de-stress and unwind after that really bad experience on the island. That was on Tierra Bamba, by the way. The island's called Tierra Bamba. Okay, anyway, so now that's enough of the northern part of Colombia. Mendo and I take a 14-hour bus ride to Medellín, one of like the main cities, one of the most popular places that people who go to Colombia go to, and especially Americans. There were so many Americans over there, which was surprising because you don't see a lot of us traveling around, especially in Latin countries, I guess, or just in general. It's interesting. Let's also talk about my motion sickness. I get really bad motion sickness. I've had motion sickness since I was a kid. In car rides, I would always get motion sickness and I didn't understand what it was until later I went to the doctor and she told me that I just get car sick. And even when I ride roller coasters, as I've gotten older, my motion sickness for roller coasters, the tolerance for it has just been very low. So I'm very prone to wanting to throw up and being really nauseous after roller coasters, car rides, spinning around. Like I just get so dizzy. So that 14-hour bus ride, I was starting to get really sick because all the buses in Colombia, I don't know what it is about Colombian drivers. Actually, it's not even Colombian drivers. I think it's just like a lot of places in general. Cause like even in the Philippines, people drive crazy there. Even in California, people drive crazy. I don't know. I think there's just crazy drivers everywhere. So I'm not even going to just like say it was just Colombia, but like even on one of our walking tours, the local to the area was just saying that like, yeah, the Colombian drivers are so crazy. The only reason why I bring this up is because like every Uber driver we took a lot of Uber rides. Like I'm saying like at least 20 different Uber rides. All our drivers were always on their phone. They were either texting on WhatsApp, calling on WhatsApp, making voice messages on WhatsApp, or scrolling through Facebook while driving us in the Uber. This wasn't even just Uber drivers. This was the bus drivers too. So... And it's crazy because the bus drivers are driving multiple people, like literally like 30 plus people, and they're driving on their phones. And Colombia is just like all jungle, all mountain. So all the roads are super windy, going side to side, up and down. They're just flying down that. And I'm just in the back, just flying like side to side, trying not to throw up. Well, I actually like don't need to throw up when I get really car sick or motion sick or whatever, but I just feel super nauseous. So we were taking most of these bus rides during the night. A lot of our nights while traveling were overnight buses. So this 14-hour ride, like slept the whole time, but it was freezing. It was so cold. We sat like right under the vent. It was so crazy. We had to just move because it was so cold in that spot specifically. But thank God, we got to Medellín, met up with our friend Emily. So she met up with us. We went to Guatapé, which was super beautiful. So that bus ride was like a 2-hour bus ride. That's when we all caught up and everything. We got to Guatapé. It was super beautiful, super colorful, very small town, very lovely, not very touristy. It was so beautiful there. We went jet skiing, we climbed the rock, all that stuff. We did a walking tour here to learn a lot about like the zócalos, which are the pieces of art that are on the walls that people were required to do back in the day just to represent the family. It was really pretty. We did not really stay in Guatapé for that long. We were there, I think, for just like 3 days, 2 nights. And then right after our walking tour, we went to go eat dinner, and then we were going to hop on a bus to go back to Medellín and then spend like a week in Medellín. On our way to Medellín, I started getting really sick. Like, my motion sickness was like an all-time high, and I felt sicker than I've ever felt before. I was just like so dizzy, so nauseous. I really did not feel good. Emily and I switched spots so I could sit by the window, and I kept trying to sleep, but I knew it was so bad when every time I tried to sleep, I would wake up because of how nauseous I was. And I was like, something's wrong here. And then I felt the saliva forming in my mouth, and you know exactly what that means. So I asked Mendua to get the snacks out of the snack bag, but it was dark on the bus, so Emily had to shine a flashlight for him. And he dumped all the snacks out of the snack bag, gave me the bag, and I threw up in it like 3 or 4 times, but there was a tiny little hole on the bottom, so it was like... So my throw up was leaking on the bus. Everyone on the bus was so nice though, because there was a lady in front of me who was trying to give me like these small little throw up bags. And then the bus driver pulled over, let me get off the bus and walk side to side, like back and forth. He told me to just throw my bag on the side of the road. I did not want to do that. I felt so bad, but there was no trash can on the bus, and he was like, yeah, it's fine, just do it. So he took like a smoke break, and I was just walking, and then there was a couple that gave Mendua a nausea pill, so he came out and gave it to me, and I took that. We had 30 minutes left to get to Medellín. When we finally got there, I threw up in the terminal bathroom. I threw up like 4 more times. It was so bad. So we just went back to the hostel. I laid there. They got me electrolytes and bread. I took a nice shower. And then I felt fine the next morning. I don't know what that was, if it was food poisoning or whatever, but it was just so bad. I think it was just like the cheese I had on my pasta too. Maybe it was like, I don't know why my stomach was just so like sensitive to everything. So now we're in Medellín. I'm gonna try to like speak a little faster on these things, because at this point I'm not really volunteering or doing hostel trade with any of these hostels anymore. Like I did reach out, but because we started moving so quick, Emily was only gonna be with us for 3 weeks. So we were kind of just like bouncing around because she wanted to see as much of Colombia as she could with us. And also, Mendua and I had a flight back. I wanted to see as much of Colombia as I wanted to. I literally came to Colombia with no goals. I had goals. I literally came to Colombia with no plans. I literally was like, okay, there are just 5 major cities that I wanted to see. It was Santa Marta, Cartagena, Medellín, Bogotá, and Cali. But after meeting other travelers who were already seeing so much of Colombia when they were giving all these different suggestions, of course I had to add it to my itinerary and made sure I went to go see them. So Medellín, we were planning on being there for like a week. So we did shopping. There was a lot of clubbing, a lot of partying. It was mostly Emily that did the clubbing and partying. Mendua and I were more chill. We just wanted to like hang out with some of the people that Emily was meeting, and then like going back to bed and sleeping early. We're early risers, early sleepers, non-drinkers. So like Emily was going and doing her thing and she was like having fun, and then she would tell us all about it the next day. But yeah, like Mendo and I we went shopping, walking. I would say like Medellin had a lot of things to do, but it's very much known for its nightlife, especially in the La Provenza area. So the funny thing is, we wanted to stay in Medellin for like 7 to 8 days, but other people were telling us that's such a long time. And Emily and I, our birthdays are 1 day apart from each other. So April 5th is hers and April 6th is mine. And she wanted to spend it in Medellin. But then we met this girl during one of our walking tours who was like, yeah, like I really don't like the city. I'm not going to be here for that long. I love going to more jungly nature places. And I was like, yeah, like me too. That's exactly how I am. So then it hit me. I was like, wait, do I want to spend my birthday in Medellin or do I want to spend my birthday in a naturey place? Because our next place was supposed to be Jardín. Mendua was like down to do whatever, but he's also a very naturey person as well. So we were like, okay, like maybe we'll just spend Emily's birthday with her and then later on just like head to Jardín. But then we were trying to do that on her birthday. That ended up not happening. So we were going to do it early morning on my birthday. But I was like, considering how sick I end up getting on the buses and how long these bus rides are, if they say it's going to be a 1 hour bus ride, it's actually going to be 3. If they say it's going to be a 3 hour bus ride, it's actually going to be 5. Like always add like 2 or 3 more hours onto the bus ride because the stops, the traffic, whatever happens. And it's true, like most of our rides were never accurately on time. So we tried leaving the 5th. We tried leaving the 6th. And then Emily was like, okay, since you guys stayed like on the 7th, we'll just leave together. But we all ended up eating yellow dragon fruit. If you've had yellow dragon fruit before, you know exactly where this is going. We met this one other girl. Her name is Bana. Bana had a whole tub of yellow dragon fruit. Emily had a whole tub of yellow dragon fruit. And then Mendo and I shared half. Emily woke up early that morning and told us that she went to the bathroom at least 8 times. And I was like, oh, like, are you okay? Like, what the heck happened? And she was like, I think it's the dragon fruit. And like me just being like, oh, this dragon fruit's so good. And like Mendo and I sharing it, we're like not thinking much of it. And then Bana ate her whole thing too. And then Emily like kept going to the bathroom like every hour. And then we went to a yoga class because I was wanting to take a yoga class so badly, especially because I knew an area in Medellin specifically that I wanted to go to, which was Smash Hot Yoga. And we accidentally took a hot yoga class. Like they told us it wasn't supposed to be hot, but we went and it was super hot. And there was like 90 degrees. We were sweating. It was super intense, super fast paced. And like at the end of it, Emily was like, I need to go to the bathroom. And then like we all go eat lunch. We're getting ready to like head out. We packed, we checked out and everything. We're eating lunch. And then I start going to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom probably like 4 or 5 times this whole time we were at the cafe. Mendel went to the bathroom. It didn't affect him as badly. I guess he has like bowels of steel or something because he was fine the whole time. But like Emily and I were just taking turns, just going to the bathroom, like going after each other. And then Bana was like on a plane ride and she's like texting us when she gets back and she's like, bro, like I kept having to go on that plane. So we're all just like, what the hell is going on? Like, you know, when you squeeze a ketchup bottle, sorry, this is a little too visual, but when you're squeezing a ketchup bottle and the noise it makes, it's just, that's exactly what we were experiencing. So we were like, let's just wait it out. Let's not get on the bus yet, just in case the bus has no running water, no toilet paper or whatever. And then we're finally like, okay, I think it's starting to calm down. So we go to the North Terminal. We have to carry all our backpacks with us. We go to the North Terminal, which was like, what was it? Like a 30-minute train ride. And then we get there, we're like, let's get food first. Let's like get some like drinks to refuel our electrolytes and our liquids in our body. We get there. Turns out that we missed the last bus ride to Jardín. But then they tell us that if we get to the South Terminal, which was closest to where we were already, it was literally a 5-minute ride from where we were in the first place. We were like, okay, like let's go over there, I guess. So we had to go 30 minutes back down, walk 30 minutes because we didn't want to take an Uber. You know, we're penny pinching out here. We get there, it's too late. And they were like, no, there are no buses. But we were like, no, the people up north told us there was a bus. And they're like, no, like our last bus was an hour ago. And we're like, bro, what the heck? So then we had to stay in Medellin another day. Mendo and I were trying to leave the 5th, the 6th, and then Emily joined us and we were trying to leave the 7th. We ended up finally leaving the 8th. Like took long enough. We finally left and the 8th turned into a whole travel day. Like we were literally traveling the whole entire day. It took forever. But we finally get there and Jardín was beautiful. Really enjoyed it. Okay, fast forward to Jardín. Now we're in Jardín. Super nice, very small town, not very touristy. When we're on the way there was a landslide. We were like, dang, this is kind of scary because now we're entering rainy season. It's no longer hot and humid like in the north. It was very, very rainy. Lots of thunder, lots of lightning. We get there and the host, I guess, has the biggest crush on Emily because Emily was messaging him on WhatsApp to get like all the information. They were wondering why we hadn't showed up the first night we were supposed to because we booked the night before we got there. But then the whole like bus terminal thing happened. So we didn't show up and they texted Emily. Oh my gosh. We got there and I swear to God, like this guy had the biggest crush on Emily because like we get there and he's trying to speak Spanish and Emily doesn't speak any Spanish, like very, very minimal, but like she didn't understand what he was saying. So I was trying to step in and talk, but like he was just tunnel vision on Emily. He just wanted to talk to her. Even like when we got there, he just kept saying like, oh, Emily is just so beautiful. Emily, you're so beautiful. And like he gave us a discount and everything. It was fine that we didn't show up the first night. He just like moved it over to the second night because we were going to stay there for 2 nights. He gave us a discounted rate and we were like, probably because he has a crush on Emily. And like every time we went out and we came back, he was just like, oh, like, how was it? Emily, how are you? Or if Mendwa and I showed up and Emily wasn't there, he'd be like, where's Emily? Is she okay? And he would be like texting her while we were out and it would be like videos and pictures of him playing the harp. Like it was just so random. But then we saw he had a kid living with him because he lived across the hostel. I don't know. It was really weird, but it was also really funny, a story to tell. So we were only planning on being there for like 3 days, 2 nights. And so one of the days we were finally trying to leave, we couldn't leave because there was just so much flooding from the rain. The rain was just so heavy. There was just too much lightning, thunder, rain, water everywhere to where houses were literally like falling into the river. People were losing their houses. People were getting in accidents and the roads were just closed because it was just way too flooded. So we couldn't leave. We had to end up staying there like another 2 nights and 2 days because of how heavy the rain was. And the lady was so sweet. Like she was just telling us how we couldn't do it. And I was the only one who understood her because everyone else at the hostel couldn't speak Spanish. Mendwa spoke a little bit and understood a little bit, but then I was a translator and then I was responding to the lady. I felt so badass. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself because I didn't know I'd ever get to this point. Yeah, it was scary though. Like it was scary knowing that people were getting in accidents and losing their houses. Like it was so sad. People were actually getting injured or dying from this. So we were like, yeah, like let's just stay here. Let's stay safe. Wait for the flooding to calm down. They're working on it and all that stuff. So Emily, Mendwa, and I had the smart idea to go hiking. Cause like, we really just wanted to go to Jardín to hike, see waterfalls, see rivers, see more of nature. So we decided to go hiking when the rain stopped. But of course, the rain didn't stop for long. So we started hiking in the pouring rain. And we were like crackheads out there. Like we were laughing, joking, dancing, just like messing around in the rain. And it was actually like really beautiful. And the fog just looked so ominous and so cool and beautiful. And then we run into this lady who has her dog and she was just like, yeah, like go up there and you'll see Cafe Jardín. Like it's super beautiful. You can overlook the town. Super cool. So we decide to go over there and then we're tired at this point. Or well, we see the waterfall first and then we decide to go to the cafe. And we're tired at this point, so we're just like, okay, like let's go get a tuk-tuk to take us down back to the town or like take us back to the hostel. But the lady was like, okay, when we order one though, it's gonna take like 30 minutes. But I look on Google Maps, and then we see there's a trail that's only 28 minutes away from where we are. But it's a completely different path than how we got there. So of course we decide maybe Google Maps can tell us how to get back. It'll be fine. It's only 28 minutes. That's going to be the amount of time it takes for this tuk-tuk to come and take us. So let's just walk. Like we already hiked. We might as well continue hiking. Don't trust Google Maps, especially not in Colombia. Do not trust Google Maps. We went down a landslide pretty much because of all the rain. There was just no traction in the ground at all. We were literally slipping and sliding. Emily kept falling down and just sliding down on her butt. I eventually just sat on my own feet and just let it slide and take me. But it was like straight up mud. It wasn't even like dirt for us to walk on. It was straight up mud. We were sliding and we were laughing until it started getting dark. It started getting dark and we were like, oh my God, are we even going the right way? Because there were parts where it didn't even look like an actual path. It was just straight up like grass everywhere. We didn't even know if this is where we should have gone. And then we finally see a sign like 40 minutes later that's like, okay, the town's going this way. But then we run into a 2-way street or like a 2-path fork, I guess. And the part that we were supposed to go to had barbed wire fencing. So we're like, okay, do we go this way? But if we go the other way, that didn't have fencing. It just led to nowhere. We had to like jump across. We ended up walking in horse poop. So we're no longer in the mud. We were just in horse poop, but we just kept going. We were like, okay. But then we saw a river and we were like, okay, how do we cross the river? Thank God there was a bridge. Let's just say a whole hour later, we finally got to the town and we were so exhausted. We were like, let's shower, let's clean our shoes, let's just like burn all these clothes. We threw away our socks. It was just so nasty. It's definitely a hike to remember for sure. It's one for the books. I made a really funny video on it. In the moment, it was funny and then it was scary and it was stressful. But looking back on it, I'm just like, I'm so glad we did that. That was so funny. Probably not the safest thing, but hey, I'm still here. I'm recording this, aren't I? We get to Santa Rosa. We were expecting to see like straight up hot springs and waterfalls. Like we thought Santa Rosa was just going to be like all naturey, but we get there and it kind of just reminded us of being in downtown LA. So we were like, okay, this kind of looks familiar, you know? The hot springs that we did go to were really, really beautiful. And I actually did like being in Santa Rosa. The people at the hostel were so amazing. Like we all exchanged Instagrams. I'm still friends with them. I still talk to them. The people there were just so nice. The travelers there, the locals there. Definitely because Santa Rosa is not super touristy. At least not to international tourists. It's more touristy for just Colombians. They definitely were looking at us like, what are you doing here? Because first of all, we're all American. Like I said, Americans don't really like travel as much as like Europeans. So you'll see more Europeans like traveling. But also, Emily and I are Asian. Mendo's black. So it's like, and Mendo's like a 6'1", the very tall black man. And then Emily and I are just Asian. So it's just like, we don't blend in there, you know? But the people working at the hostel that we stayed at did mention, like, you guys do look different, or like, you guys are very different from the people they're used to seeing. So don't get scared seeing them staring at you. They're just very curious. And I'm like, yeah, like, totally get it. I mean, we figured we've kind of been getting stares like all over Colombia, but definitely here more. But that's kind of expected, you know, like it is what it is. But that didn't really take away from our experience either. Like we still enjoyed, we still like loved the area. The hot springs were just so beautiful. More hiking, more waterfalls happened here. Not as crazy, not as scary. Well, we did climb like these really slippery rocks to get a better view of the waterfall, but we all helped each other. We all made it out safely. Mendo's flip-flops kept breaking. He was hiking in flip-flops the whole time. I was hiking in Tevas, which is just like not too much better, but like a little bit better. I don't know. I feel like hiking in Tevas is pretty nice, but he was hiking straight up flip-flops and his flip-flops kept breaking. So it got to a point where he just started hiking barefoot. I think his feet were like bruised the next day, but it is what it is. All right. So this is where Mendo and I start rushing the rest of our trip. Emily dips after this day. Like she took a night bus to Bogotá. She stays in Bogotá for a few days and then she flies to Argentina. No, she flies to Chile. Yeah, she goes to Chile. She goes there for a little bit and then she goes to Argentina and then but because of the whole thing happening in Medellín and then Jardín and us staying longer than we were supposed to, Mendo and I are now rushing our trips. We spent one night in Salento. We left early morning from Santa Rosa, went to Salento. I literally was just so tired. I took a 5-hour nap the second we got to Salento and I wanted to go explore Salento more, but we were just like rushing our trip and I was just so exhausted. So Mendo was just editing his pictures. I slept. Then the next morning we woke up really early, headed over to the Cocora Valley. Super beautiful. That's really all we wanted to see there. And that's all we wanted to do there. I wanted to play Tejo, but we just couldn't find a place. But it all worked out because then we ended up playing Tejo in San Gil. One night in Salento, literally to the Cocora Valley, came back, kind of just chilled, showered, packed up our stuff, and then took a night bus to Bogotá. Got to Bogotá at like 4 a.m. We were so exhausted, but that bus driver was zooming, bro. Like I woke up and I was like, bro, why are we going so fast? I got so scared because I'm like, is he doing this to stay awake? Like, why is he driving so fast? And like I said, the roads are super windy like this. So I was literally like flying. I woke up in the middle of my sleep and I was just like, what is going on? And then we got to Bogotá literally 2 hours earlier than we were supposed to. So Mendo and I were both pissed. Like we're supposed to be sleeping still, but we get to our hostel and our beds were not ready. So we had to sleep on like a netted hammock and it was just not as comfortable, but it's okay. And because we're rushing our trip, we're only spending 2 days, 1 night in Bogotá. So like we kind of wake up after just being so tired and having like kind of disturbed sleep. We bring our bags back to our receptionist so they can like lock up our stuff and we go and explore. We do these walking tours. We explore the La Candelaria area. We try to stay up late as much as possible. We try to play Tejo there too, but we were starting to get a group, but then they closed way earlier because we were there around Easter Sunday. So not many places were closed very late. They were closing all really early. So Mendo and I, we woke up early to hike over to the cable cars and then take the tram up to the Montserrat area. And it was Easter Sunday, so it was very packed, very crowded. Everyone was at church. And then him and I were going to do the hike, but it was just way too crowded and I still wanted to see the views. So we took the cable car down. We explored some more. Again, we weren't here for that long. We took another night bus. It's like, at this point in our trip, we're just taking night buses and staying one night in hostels. Like, we were just so sleep deprived and just like on the go. We have to fit everything we can in every city that we're at. It wasn't as enjoyable or very leisurely, but I'm still glad that we got to see all those things and learn about the different cultures and histories in all these cities that we were going to. So even though it was rushed, I was still able to enjoy the culture in the background. Then we take a night bus to Sand Hill. Sand Hill is where a lot of the adventurers go, a lot of the adrenaline junkies. I've never heard of this place. Some people from Colombia don't even know where it is because it's just such a small town. I only heard about it because of other backpackers. And of course, not many backpackers know about it, but when you go, it's like all the backpackers that are like, yeah, adrenaline, like they're all there. So we took a night bus there, but I don't know what the heck happened. There was really bad traffic. I don't know if there was an accident. I don't know if there was a crime. I don't know if there was something, but there were just like all these police cars and like SWAT team or whatever, or not SWAT team. Those official cars were there and we were just not moving for like 2 hours. We were so close. We were literally like a 20-minute drive from the hostel and we were just at a standstill. And I was so tired. I was so hungry. I was like, bro, like, let's go. This is the longest ride ever. But we finally got there. We stayed in Sand Hill for, I think, 3 nights. It was going to be 2 nights, but we ended up extending our stay because we were just so tired. I literally just kept sleeping while we were here. We met a bunch of people from the hostel. Super sweet, super nice. That first day we were there, we went caving. We've both never done that before. We've both never went caving with water. We went caving, but it was dry. This was our first time doing it with water and it was super cool because there were bats, like baby bats, mama bats, bat poop, everything. It was so gross, but like it was super cool in there. Then we went to the swimming holes. The next day we went white river rafting. This was both our first times doing it and it was so much fun. Like the adrenaline on that one, I literally didn't know if we were going to flip, if I was going to drown, if we were going to make it out alive or not, but it was so much fun and our tour guide was so nice. And then our last day there, we went paragliding. Of course, it made me a little nauseous, a little sick. I had to take the nausea pills and I had to drink a lot of ginger ale, which ginger ale was my like savior. The nausea pills and ginger ale, that was like the chef's kiss combo for me in Colombia. After like 3 nights in Sand Hill, we took a night bus to Bogotá. Oh my gosh, this was the longest bus ride of my life because from Sand Hill to Bogotá, 10 hours. 1 hour in Bogotá we waited and then it was like another 15 hours. Bro, we literally were like traveling for like 25 hours or something because it was like not even just the bus rides. It was also the waiting and the Uber rides. But we finally get to Cali. Cali's the last hostel we're at, but I got us hostel accommodation collaboration going on. Mendo provided pictures. I provided content. I don't know, like this was just the end of our trip. I was so exhausted. I don't know what came over me. Maybe the back-to-back traveling, the back-to-back night buses, 1 to 2 nights per place we stayed at. And just so much traveling, so much go. So like, I'd say majority of the time we were in Cali, I just kept sleeping. And we missed the salsa dancing that I wanted to do, the street salsa and like the salsa clubs that I wanted to go see. Like I just wasn't able to experience it all just because I kept sleeping, I kept napping and then Mendo would take a nap too. But the first day we got there, we were walking to a restaurant. We were both starving and a bird like vomited on me. I thought it pooped. The way it like splatted on me was very much like poop. It was just on my arm and I looked at it and it was red. And when I showed Mendo, he thought I was bleeding or like got cut or hurt or something because it was red. And I got scared for a second, but I was like, no, that's bird poop. Like a bird literally just shat on me right now. And I posted it on my story and everyone is saying it was vomit. And of course, good luck. And I'm like, I don't know what luck this is. Maybe it's luck I'm not understanding of or aware of, but like, I don't know how I'm lucky, but I'll believe it. Someone said it was love vomit. So I was like, okay, I'm loved, I guess. We did finally get to go to a salsa class at the hostel. We did go to a salsa club with a bunch of people that we met from the hostel. We went to like this one salsa club that has like the salsa show. So the dancers there were just super, super talented, moving so fast. Like literally watching them, I'm like, they're moving in 5 times speed. Like that's not humanly possible. How are they moving that fast? And even like the partner dancing, they were just like flipping each other over and like spinning them around, and people were like jumping over each other and shit. And I'm like, how are they moving so fast? But it was so impressive. It was so cool. That last night we were there after we went to the salsa club. Also, I did get to play tejo. I forgot to mention that when we were in San Gil, played tejo with everybody. And tejo is a Colombian traditional sport. It's a national sport where you have a rock, which is called the tejo, and you throw it at like this platform that has a bunch of clay on it. But there's like a metal ring with TNT around it. Like there's 3 TNTs set up touching the metal ring. And so your goal is to like hit one of the TNTs to cause an explosion and get to 7 points first with your team before the other team. The whole reason we went to Cali was because we both wanted to learn salsa dancing. We both wanted to salsa dance. I love dancing, but it sucked we didn't get to do as much because I just kept sleeping and the Mendwa kept sleeping and I was just so tired. But we got back safely. We're here. We were in Cali. We flew to Bogotá and I was just like, bruh, we could have just stayed in Bogotá and not gone to Cali if I was just going to sleep this much and we were going to be on the bus for that long. But it was okay because we got to experience it. I saw it with my own eyes instead of just on video. And then we flew to Houston, Texas, back to LAX. My parents picked us up. And yeah, it was a vibe. That was my whole experience in Colombia. It was very, very thorough and very descriptive and specific. I didn't think it was going to be this long. My throat hurts. I'm really thirsty. If you made it this far in my podcast, like if you really listened to this whole entire thing, one, you're either really into my stories or really curious about Colombia and traveling, or you just really care about me and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much. If you really made it this far into the episode, please let me know and give me a thumbs up. And follow me on Instagram or TikTok or both. If you do want to do volunteer exchange on World Packers, my promo code will be down below so you get a discount. But no, seriously, if you did make it this far, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'm really impressed. I really didn't think it was going to be this long. We made it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here listening to me. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you enjoyed listening to this or watching this. And hopefully you were able to live vicariously through me, whether it was on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, goodbye.